Hello and welcome once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. Joe is in Hawaii, and this is the last of the three-part Geek Day that we had back in February. I had a day off on a Thursday back in February. Joe has Thursdays off, and rather than just record an episode, we got in Joe's police car and drove around the Twin Cities to comic shops. It was a snowy day. We hit, before this, we had hit Mind's Eye and the College Comic Book Knowledge and a record store called the Electric Fetus. This picks up right after we have hit the Source, and we are on our way to Half Price Book a Magazine, which is a chain of used books. We tend to drop there. They have a small comic section, and I am big on just finding cheap stuff to read because I read a lot. One of my favorite things on this trip was when I found the mystery section. This was a half-price book and magazine I go to as much. So the one near me has already been picked over for me. So here I was able to find stuff that is not available at the one I went to. Couple of things about this episode and episodes going forward. This is episode 550. We have been doing this now since 2010, so 12 years we have been doing this podcast. And it's funny that we have become sort of the part of the old guard of comic book podcasts when I still see myself as, I was one of the last people who was a fan of Comic Geek Speak who started their own show. It's weird how time changes and continues to move on. The big change that doesn't really matter a whole lot, we will no longer be posting these episodes on Mondays. The turnaround has just been with my two jobs and other responsibilities. I'm not able to get it recorded and mixed and edited and everything else by Monday on a consistent basis. So we are moving Crazy Comics and Stories starting next week to Wednesday, which I think is a good idea because Wednesday is New Comic Book Day. Next week is an episode that Joe and I recorded for previews. I didn't want to drop it this week because we had just done a previews episode 2 weeks ago. So it would be a previews episode, another episode, and then a previews episode. And previews episodes are long, and they're kind of specialized. If you disagree with that, please let us know. You can let us know anything at solitaireroadsnetwork@gmail.com. Just send us an email. We read our emails on the air unless you don't want us to. We also will take your suggestions, your criticisms, all of that. We're trying to make this show better. 550 episodes, and we're still trying to get it right. So, this episode, I love these episodes because it's just us in a car talking comics and life and other things. So it's like you're sitting in the back seat as Joe and I are driving around the Twin Cities. Sadly, Bunkhouse Butch, our longtime friend, did not respond to us. He tends to drop off the earth now and then. So it's just Joe and I. I want to thank everybody for listening for 550 episodes. And here's the new one. We have just been in the Source.
Yes. And they didn't get their comics yet because
they're somewhere between the moon and New York City.
Yeah. They didn't like our rendition of it. However, yeah, they said because of all the bad weather and that, it's in a truck somewhere. And which is weird because I don't think, with the exception of a Tuesday, I have yet to come into the Source and not see new comics on a new comic rack. But
College had their comics.
Yeah, they did. So it must be a real cluster. You know what? I don't know. In terms of how that would affect me, I always was worried. Like I said, if Shinder's got their books and I hadn't gotten mine, I said I might as well just return them because people are just going to go there. There was still enough people. And I think they were to the end. They're we're totally oblivious other comic shops existed.
Yeah.
They were equally oblivious that Schindler's carried porn. Because, they'd be like, oh yeah, and I remember talking to one lady who was kind of a good shopping customer at our store. And I said, well, Schindler's carries porn. She goes, no, they don't. I said, have you ever walked behind that wall, that wood door that says under 18 not allowed? I said, you might want to take a peek back there. I mean, they keep it away from everybody else, but it is there. They were always, I think, looking for Pokemon cards. Well, Schindler's has them, but you don't. Yeah, well, Schindler's marked them up to $5-6 a pack. I wait till I actually have them and keep them retail. Occasionally, I would buy them on the secondary market. I'd have a higher price on them, but it wasn't the be-all and end-all of our store.
And Schindler's had 13 stores.
Yeah.
So they could order, a distributor, if they're going to, okay, here's this store, they want 55 cases. And here's this one, they want 5 boxes.
Yeah.
Guess who's getting theirs first?
We discovered that because when we went down to Aladdin and tried to set up an account, you could tell they kind of tolerated us. Because, we were like, well, we were interested in Magic and Pokemon, and I think what pissed them off is and I know, Schindler's is your big account, but, and then when we dropped $1,000 on the paperbacks from, Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, they're like, oh, we do have a couple Pokemon on it. Amazing, that.
Wow, it's weird how that works.
Oh, yeah, we use them for dice and for other games, but, I also remember talking with Bob, and because Games Workshop was, oh, yeah, you can set up. I'm like, no, we're too close to the source. We're over 10 miles. It's like, yeah, but, they are the game store in town. Phoenix Games, when they were around, it was the game store.
And you didn't really know that stuff that well.
No, and they didn't know toys that well. And, we kind of, we both sold comics, and somebody wanted games. I said, well, I can order it or go to the source. They probably have it sitting on their shelves.
Schindler's had games, but nobody knew them. They put me in charge at one point. It's like, I haven't played this stuff in 5 years. I don't know anything about Dungeons and Dragons 2nd Edition.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's a list.
The games are still going strong. They just, they don't seem to be that strong in the Diamond catalog anymore. But
no, because it's board games that have taken off.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, you don't hear as much about it as you do about board games, which, since the European board game craze hit, that seems to be the big thing. And there are YouTube channels where people, okay, we're going to set up and we're going to play Ticket to Ride. Or we're going to set up and we're going to play this. I have seen channels where people play Dungeons and Dragons, and there was a show I used to watch called Harmon Quest, where Dan Harmon, creator of Community and Rick and Morty, had a Dungeons and Dragons game going. And they would have a special celebrity come in every episode who would play a one-shot character. And it was fun, but you could tell that it was very much set up for, this is the story we're going to tell, because each episode was a half hour and it always ended on a cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. But there are channels where people set up, play Dungeons and Dragons. And from what I hear, a lot of Dungeons and Dragons over Zoom. And to be honest, if I had more time, I'd probably try to talk to Dangerous Dan more, Grampy Dan, because he ran we had a Wednesday night gamer thing going for a long time till it's, okay, my job has changed, and things have gotten weird, and I just don't have time anymore. Now I can never do a Wednesday night game.
Never.
Because I have to cover Dynamite.
Well, that was a 2-second light. Stupid left turn. See, that's the type of assholes. First of all, there's a snowplow in front of me that wants to take a right turn in front of me. Okay, I let him. And then the guy behind him in the left lane, oh, well, I'm going to run the red and almost smack into the guy coming across from me because I'm too impatient to wait for another light. Not me.
At least the snow seems to have stopped.
Oh, okay, we're not nowhere near a green light for us.
We got a light dusting.
At the source, I picked up just a ton of different variant covers. Yeah, it looks like a lot of it passed us, went around us. We got some freezing rain coming our way, but that shouldn't be too bad.
There were a couple of things I was looking at, but I kind of decided that, no. One of them was the second issue of a magazine called Good Boy, which is a pretty thick magazine, very indie artist. But as I looked through it, it's like, oh, this is part 2 of something, and I'll wait and I'll find the first issue somewhere. That's one of the things I was trolling up and down the aisles for. Also was looking for those 2 issues of Captain Victory that weren't in the batches, but they didn't have them.
I took a few back issues. I'm still looking for Dragon Claws 4 and 5, the first comic book and second comic book appearance of Death's Head, where the first appearances were all in Transformers, and then he ran into Doctor Who shrunk him down to human size. He seems to be happy with that.
I hate the back issue bins at the source, though.
Yeah, they stuff them too much. They're nice bins, but they overstuff them. The comics in the front tend to bend. You know, you almost got to pull out a nice half-a-foot wad of comics just so you can look at things without trying to press them.
I think out of all the shops, I like, when we went down to Issues Needed, I like their setup the best because they know, leave some room so you can flip. Even the college, they don't do that. It's, nope, put as many back issues in there as you can.
In their $3 bin, it was pretty tight. But again, I just take about 4 inches of comics out so I can flip through them without damaging them and at least see what the hell I'm looking at. So it's workable.
That was one thing I always made sure of with your back issues. It's, you know, make sure there's room so people can flip.
Yeah, Ruben don't like that. He likes stuff them. No, actually, Pat, I shouldn't say Pat was on the same page with me on that one. Our big fight was, do we put the comics before or after the title? And I kind of came with him and said, you know what? Yeah, they say I look like a cop car, so you can get to pull in front of me. I told him I kind of win because I'm here more often, and you know I'll just do it my way.
And what is your way?
I'll put them after the title.
Agreed.
Which, you know, even in some of the other shops, I'm, you know, confused. Like, okay, where am I supposed to be looking here for this title? Especially if they got a title card that has no actual of that title there. Because then I'm like, did I miss it? Is it before? Is it after? Or is it just here because you're out and, you know, that's our way of saying it's out. But then again, back issues aren't a big deal to the source.
Well, they're not a big deal to anybody, really.
No, but they can be. But Nostalgia Zone wasn't open.
Well, and they don't have... Nostalgia Zone used to be part of the Comic Book College. And you probably know far more about that than I ever would. But they now just do vintage comics.
Yeah.
They don't even do stuff from like the last 10, 15, 20 years.
And they're also got a very good online presence. I used to get their newsletter. It might have drifted off, or maybe they don't do it, where they say, these are all the books we got in. This will be a bit of a ride to get to Maplewood.
Okay.
Mainly because I don't want to take the main roads.
And I'm fine with that.
Yep. We got time.
Now, there's a Kia Soul kind of kitty corner from us. The dealership I bought my car from has been sending me a letter every month. We want your car back. And it's now up to $11,000 they will give me for my car.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to, when I go in for my oil change and everything in about a week or two, I'm going to say, what you got? You got another one of these or a Soul? What can we do here?
Yeah, no, you'll be surprised because it really sucks. I mean, I've been looking cars. When I always wanted to get like a Ranger, but I've been watching full-size pickups, you know, go from 35 to 40 to 50 to 55.
Well, the thing is, the Rio and the Soul are both sub $20,000 cars.
Yeah.
But the reason I like them...
looking for those because the cars we talked about and other ones are 30, 40, 50,
yeah.
60.
But the reason I like Kia, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. the last thing on this planet I'm going to deal with at this point in my life is car repairs.
Yeah.
And my car breaking down. Because so much of my, until I would say my mid-30s, so much of my life was, will the car make it?
And that was the big deal for Chris, because she's like, well, we don't know if we can afford a new car. I said, well, we really can't afford not to have a new car, because at any one time, my car is $2,000 repair job away from being junked.
Yeah.
Even this one here, I don't, the Police Intrepid, or Interceptor, I should say, because I don't know how much it would cost to fix. I do the maintenance, I get the oil change, and I got a few things when I finally get it into my guy. I know I need a new brake job. But we're kind of like, Chris, every time you go in and get your car done, they're like, oh, it's under warranty, don't worry about it. She's leasing, so she's always got a payment, but it's kind of nice to know if we were to take a long trip like we talked about, I could use her car and then not have to, be reasonably sure it wouldn't break down.
Yeah.
And this thing's been fine. This what I'm driving. It's not under warranty.
And if they're going to give me, I've got that dent in the side, so they'll probably knock it down $1,000. But if they're going to give me $10,000 toward a new vehicle, well, that would mean that my payment would be less than I'm currently paying on a car that's 4 years new.
Yeah.
So
it could happen.
And the other nice thing about it is I don't have a daily drive anymore. So the number of miles I'm putting on my car, I'm not even getting 12,000 miles a year anymore.
Yeah, I've got like a 20-minute drive, and that's why I just need something that moves. And this thing works fine. And people think I'm a cop. Get out of my way.
Although this summer, if things calm down and we don't get another scary variant, I've already kind of warned the group home that every month or two, I'm going to take an entire weekend off. And who knows, on those weekends I'm just going to go somewhere. Where? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
because let's face it, the Black Hills of South Dakota are less than a day away.
Well, go into only in your state, and you can sign up for Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin. You'll find all sorts of fun things to go. I'd love to head up north again and, not only check out the comic shops, but, I took you to a couple places on the North Shore you've probably never been. And Chris and I still go up there, and you don't know how close. Somebody just flashed their light.
I saw that.
And I was no. But
But
he was upset because all of a sudden somebody was taking a left-hand turn, stopped.
Oh, I thought he was like, cop car, warning you it's a cop car.
No, he was just impatient. Like, why am I'll flash my lights because right now we're driving and it's not a whiteout, but it's snowing heavily.
Well, it's not snowing, but there's snow on the ground.
Oh, it's snowing.
Really? Because
look at the snow.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean on the windshield when I started.
Yeah, now I can see it.
Yeah, it's coming down. We're on side streets, so it's like quarter mile, and the people that are driving with us are people who know not to go on the freeway because the freeway is probably backed up.
Oh, yeah.
And the roads can be slick, but we're not going over 30, which is fine by me. Like I said, I know how to drive in snow. It doesn't mean I want to. And usually this is when I'll be at home watching the local news going, look at those idiots in traffic. Now I'm one.
Unless I have to go to the group home, I don't pay any attention to.
Yeah.
If I wasn't geeking, I would be on my couch right now, probably watching a football playoff game because I've got a ton of them recorded with a big old thing of popcorn.
And hot buttered Pop-Tart.
No, I'd have popcorn. Pop-Tarts for the morning.
You are so sick. I was actually going to have a hot buttered Pop-Tart ready for you, but I never got to the store to get. And plus, I had no idea. Well, I suppose I could have gone with any fruit variety. Would have been good.
As long as it's got frosting.
Yep.
It's fine by me.
Sorry, Brian, you're wrong. See, I side with you on some of the Pop-Tart.
I don't believe there should be unfrosted Pop-Tarts.
I've had them.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
Now, I have made my own Pop-Tarts, which are fine.
What is the strudel where you're like, you toast it, and then you have like some icing. And
Oh, that was Pillsbury toaster strudel.
Yeah, those were good.
Now, when they also had the Pillsbury toaster pastry thing, and they had one that was just egg and cheese.
Ew.
And that was perfect for me.
Oh, those are cream cheese. Nasty.
No, just egg and cheese.
And
it was savory. Yeah.
Ugh.
It was a savory, and those were great. And then all of them either have bacon or sausage now, so it's like, yeah, thanks.
The one I had, I was nasty beyond belief.
But then I can make them myself. You could actually just buy like Pillsbury croissant dough, bake it a little bit to proof it, then put your cooked egg and cheese in there, seal it up.
I am taking a chance that I can go to a road less traveled.
Ooh.
If not, I will end up back where we were.
Take the long way home.
That's one advantage of doing the side streets. I remember when we went to, I don't know if you've been to Buck Hill. It's about Highway 100 and 494 in St. Paul.
Yep.
See, we're just going back to where we were. But that's fine. Anyways, I don't know where we are. I remember...
Oh, we're in Hidden Valley. Let's get some ranch dressing. Gonna look very hidden.
It's dead end. See, now we're looping about, which sucks. That's a dead end, so I can't go that way.
I think there's something there that stops everybody.
Yeah, train tracks.
Like a river.
No, train tracks. Anyways.
You're not going to drive down the train tracks?
I don't have the train track accessory on my cop car.
Yeah.
Let's see, this will bring us back to the road we were on. And whether I can get across it or not is another subject.
Whee!
But we were at the ski hill and this snowstorm that just broke out and all the traffic sucked. And so because I knew the back roads, I didn't hop on 35W. I hopped on side streets and just took the side streets home. And everybody's like, I have no idea where we are. I said, that's okay, we're somewhere in Minnesota. As long as we don't cross a river or Iowa or Canada, we're fine.
Yeah, I don't have a passport.
It's like when we went to see Minnesota's biggest waterfall, which straddles the Canadian border. It's like you could literally walk across a river and walk into Canada. And I was like, really? That's it? They have the actual border crossing closed, but I could just go this way.
So you snuck into Canada like an illegal immigrant.
Nope, I stayed in Minnesota. Although it was funny because you'd see the falls, people watching the falls on the other side and wave to them. That little Aussie Canucks, and they're like, look at how dirty, yes.
I'd just go,
Americans.
Canada, America, Canada, America, Canada, America.
It was a good waterfall, though.
We don't put up with that crap here.
And then they have a higher falls, which you can take a very arduous, if I'm saying the word right, 5-mile, very muddy, very steep terrain hike, or wait till they open the border and take a drive over, get in the parking lot, take a 2-block walk. Oh, there it is.
By the way, have you ever been to Niagara Falls?
Never.
The falls themselves are amazing.
Yeah, I would love to see those.
I went there and spent a day just at the falls. I didn't go to any of the tourist stuff. And now I kind of regret it because I did not go to the WW Niagara Falls restaurant, which from what I hear was just a joke. The food was awful. The decor was cheap and crappy. And
did you go down to the whirlpool?
Yes. And I went
that would be cool
behind the falls.
Oh.
Because you can go behind the falls. They've hollowed it out on the Canadian side. And that's the part that was just fascinating to me. You know, you couldn't see a lot.
All right.
But the size of it just blows you away. You know, I've seen it in movies and everything, but you really don't grasp the size until you're actually there.
And then look at pictures like the year that the water dried up or they diverted it, and you're like, oh my God. But Did you get the urge to splurge and go over the falls?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, hell no. What are you talking smack, boy?
I wouldn't even get on the, the Maid of the Mist that goes...
Oh, I would have done that. Of course, I would have dressed perfectly.
Although I have gone to Minnehaha Falls where whenever it gets frozen, I go there once in a while. Or during the summer. Which is here in the lovely Twin Cities.
Yeah, I remember I took the walk. On one side of the falls, it goes, when you go downstream, you walk and it's all boarded across kind of the swampy area, and then it just ends. So you gotta walk back, cross the bridge, and then walk the other way, and you can walk all the way down to the Mississippi River. Come on, get out of my way. Jeez. Amateurs. See, this guy's getting out of my way.
It's not really snowing, but because it's at twilight, it just feels very weird.
It's snowing, trust me.
Yeah, it's not snowing crazy, though.
Yes, it is. Look at the interstate. It's pretty much at a standstill. I know the back roads. Of course, I also know I should probably stop here on red. Oh, thank God it turned green. Yeah, I want to go to Maplewood Malls. No. Plus, there's an IHOP nearby. We can go get waffles. Ooh. Because I'm getting that hungry urge.
You're having the urge?
I is.
Butch missed out again. Misses out on $200 tickets to a pay-per-view.
Oh, there's Butch. Hey, I'm home. The pay-per-view was sad.
Well, and he said, I wouldn't have gone anyway. I said, no.
Maybe. You don't know.
You would have. I would have talked you into it.
Well, and you tell them, yeah, we'll be masked and COVID protocols. All right.
Dude, you get to ask questions of CM Punk. You get to ask Daniel Bryan questions.
No, this is County Road. R2. No, I want County Road C.
County Road R2D2.
Take off my sunglasses. It's dark. Sunglasses are off.
It's weird once you get into St. Paul and Minneapolis, the huge areas where there's lakes and woods.
Yeah, this is Roseville Central Park, which goes almost to where Lexington Avenue, kind of like where Lexington and Larpenteur were, almost through the entire city to like Ray Street. So you could jump on a trail and just kind of take it, which I've done. There were places where I remember walking, and it was like you'd have sworn you were in northern Minnesota, except you could still hear, cars from the highway. Sweet.
Now, where I went to college, Macomb, Illinois, if you wanted to go walking, you had to walk. Maybe there would be a sidewalk, but for the most part, you're walking on the side of the back side streets. And there were times where it's okay, I'm going to go over to the theater. It's only like 10 blocks away. I'm not going to get in my car and go 10 blocks. So you'd walk, and then on the way back, you just kind of, what's over here? What's over here? What's over here?
I did that a couple of times when I was in Washington, working there for 7 months. I just, there's a trailer. It's a theater, like, within walking distance, like a mile. So I would walk down there and saw Watchmen. I walked home, stopped at Fuddruckers to eat.
Every so often I would go to the closed drive-in. And, when I was there, you're in your early 20s. You're like, oh man, this drive-in's been closed forever. It's been closed for like 7-8 years. And now I think of it, it's like, for a drive-in that had only been closed for, I think, 7 years, everything was just gone. The building.
This is part of it. This is the disc golf course. I used to play a lot of disc golf here.
Oh.
Back when I could move.
The posts were mostly gone. The screen was still there, but it had sections missing.
I'll take this section home and have my own.
do want to get to the drive-in this year.
I think there's one left, isn't there?
Yep.
Valley High, is it?
Valley High.
Yeah.
Now, there's one about an hour and a half west of the Twin Cities that has 2 screens. And then there's a racetrack that after the races on Saturday will show a movie. But I'm not... It can't be that good if it's, okay, we've converted the racetrack into a drive-in theater. Oh, that's not...
All right. I'm just going to push this up. I keep turning the heat down because it's so damn warm, but I need the heat to keep the windows defrogged.
Whee! What are your plans for summer, Joe?
Work. It all depends on what I bid for at work. If I can get weekends off, I can imagine Chris and I will probably go north a lot. Now, the other wild card is Chris will hopefully have her new job, so she may not be ready to take weekends off.
Now, is she still going to work for the city?
No, she is going to retire. She's got people offering jobs within the city. I do not think she wants to take them, but she's listening. And I always remind her, you are right now miserable with where you are, and just retire. Set your date, go out. She's at a position, because she's been there 35 years, they have I think I've explained it, the rule of 90.
Yeah.
Age versus long terms of service.
Yep.
She can start taking her pension right away. So she really just needs a job to make up the difference. And believe me, unlike you and I, she's been offered some jobs. I found out when I retire, I can immediately start taking my pension because I'm not retiring until I'm 60, which is nice. And then again, you talked about where you're going to be Saturday. Well, guess where I'm going to be? I mean, tomorrow. Saturday I'll be at work, so I'll give you that.
Talking to a financial advisor?
No, I'm being my basement eBay.
No.
Which I enjoy the hell out of doing. We always talk about keep it if it brings you joy, and kudos to the Korean lady who has that whole shtick going. I keep forgetting her name. But I'm like, you know what? I don't necessarily enjoy buying the comics, but man, I like putting them on eBay. And the thought in the back of my head opening up a shop that doesn't do Dreamhaven, that's where I wanted to stop. Oh well. Sorry, Greg, next time.
Yeah, he's got a whole lot new from the last time we were there.
But every time I dig through his cheap stuff, I always am finding stuff like, oh, this is interesting.
Cow.
For $1.
Cow is my favorite story of you finding crap there.
Oh, hasn't sold. It's still on eBay's if you want it. There, that's my eBay pitch. Although I see guys like they got number 1 for $100. I'm like, dude, I got the whole set. I still haven't figured out. It's obviously an appearance of somebody. I haven't figured out who.
Maybe you should message the people who are putting it up at that price. Go, hey, why is this book worth so much?
Well, for one thing, there aren't a hell of a lot of them out there.
Well, that doesn't mean anything.
Sure it does.
Not a hell of a lot of Revengers featuring Megalith either, but nobody's putting that up for $100.
You don't know. You haven't looked.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Well, I put one up for $100. See?
When somebody else has got it up for $1.50.
What's worse? Well, you didn't say that. See, that's the thing. What's worse is when you have something and nobody has it up and nobody knows what it is. My favorite story being when I had the 1 in 10 black and white copy of Spawn #1 that McFarlane gave out with his, I think it was just a variant for whatever reason. And I bought mine probably half price because I bought it from Pat for $225, and I went to sell it, and I'm like, there's nothing like this on eBay. There's nothing like this being sold. And then I look it up, and I'm like, oh, but Jesus, they say it's $200. Is it really? Put it up for $200.
And?
I got 2 emails. One, is this really the $200 variant? And second of all, you know what? Your feedback's good enough. I'm just buying it because I trust you. And Now if I had it, it's a $300 variant. But I was like, hey, put it up, it sells. There's been plenty of times I put something up high only to discover all of a sudden everybody has one and they're all cheaper than me. And I'm like, oh, that's fine, you know. Nothing drives things out like somebody putting one up for a high buck.
I'm going to say something very controversial, Joe.
Yes.
I don't mind when people keep their Christmas lights up for a long time.
Nope, doesn't bother me at all.
I think it's awesome.
I like this over here. There's a house that's got white fringes over it. The one we just passed had blue lights on their tree.
Yeah.
This, by the way, is a rich part of town.
No.
So I'll drive slow enough.
Well, yeah, because there's all the
big lake
where they could put their boats.
Yeah. I think this is Keller Lake.
But there's somebody near the group home that has those Christmas lights that look like icicle stripping.
Oh, I love those.
And they've still got them up, and I want to just stop at their house and go, can you leave those up like all year?
They would be sweet all year.
I imagine leaves would cover them up eventually, but still. Yeah, people brought all their docks in. If you could afford a dock that you can bring in, you've got more money than me.
It's not a terribly big lake, but it's got some good fish.
I thought it was called Big Lake.
Oh, this is Keller Lake.
Oh, Keller Lake.
Yeah. Because we're on Keller Parkway.
Greg
All
Keller
right.
owns it.
What do you think? We're north of 36, but not north of 494. Therefore,
And no one's plowing this road.
no, they won't get out the plow for a while. I'm just taking it slow because I don't want to end up in the lake, even though it is hard.
It may not be hard enough. As many of our female listeners know.
But,
Good
there's more
afternoon.
blue
Thank
light.
you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. This is the blue section of the show.
Oh, we could get far dirtier.
That's true.
I mean, we have yet to do a play-by-play commentary on Cherry Pop-Tart.
Or even talk about adult comics.
We've talked about adult comics.
Off and on.
Off and on. Mostly how hard they are to sell.
Yeah, which is really too bad because they're actually, some are fairly pricey.
Well, there was that big boom, like 1988 to, 92, 93, where first you had Black Kiss by Howard Chaykin. And that was a big deal. At Schindler's, we sold tons of that. And then Phil Folio had his dirty comic.
Xenophile.
And then Cherry Pop-Tart started coming out on a more regular basis. And then Fantagraphics, who were paying for a lawsuit, started a whole line of dirty comics. And there for a long time, they still had them in Diamond. They hadn't printed a new one in like 20 years, but it's, hey, we still got them in the warehouse. They don't do that anymore.
You know what? I've been driving with all my lights on.
Oh. Maybe that's why that guy flashed his lights at you.
That could be.
And why I thought, it's weirdly dark.
Yeah, but there's a guy in front of us without his lights on. He's got driving lights because you can see him in front.
I imagine. Usually, if you see somebody in the morning, and you're driving, your lights are on, they've been driving all night.
Hit it. The other thing is probably people will see that, the cop doesn't have his lights on. He must be doing stuff incognito. That means without his hat.
Incognito.
Incognito.
I like Cherry Pop-Tart because it was very well drawn and just silly, stupid.
Yeah.
Xenophile really depended on who the creators were in it.
Yeah.
Because there were sometimes it was really good.
Funny as hell. Other ones were like,
Other ones were like, Phil, did you find this guy like doing charcoal drawings on the sidewalk or something? Isn't any good. But Cherry got so big that he did a spin-off series, Cherry's Jubilee. Neil Gaiman wrote a story for it, if I remember right.
Interesting. I remember in an interview Neil Gaiman talking about, yeah, I've never written a porn story. It'd be kind of interesting to do that. Speaking more as a writer, just to broaden his horizon. Maybe that was enough for him.
But I know at Shinder's we'd have them in the back room, but the bigger ones like Black Kiss, we would actually have bagged and up on a higher shelf. And we'd have a special bag that would block out everything except the title.
Yeah, I bought a bunch of those. Still got them. That was the one thing at Odd Comics, because the only people who came looking for that stuff didn't want to go to Shinder's for some reason. And I was like, well,
it's the Evil Empire.
Well, that, or maybe they got kicked out. Sir, it's not a how-to guide. And I ordered it, and I told the guys who ordered it, I don't carry it for two reasons. First of all, in the ordinance that St. Paul used to shut down the FOST and get their Alexander Ferris, Minnesota's own pornographer, shut down, you have to be a certain amount of feet from a residential area or a school or a church or whatever. And I wasn't. Second of all, if I had gotten busted, it would have been very uncomfortable for my wife.
Yes.
Who's working for the city of St. Paul. Hey, your husband just got busted selling smut. That said, we did order it for subscribers through the Arrows under the guise that, if you buy it, if you order it, you got to buy it. I don't care what it is when you get it, because I don't carry it. And if I find it on the shelf and get busted, you're next.
Because I know who ordered it.
Not to say that we didn't inspect each bit of smut that came into the store to make sure it met our exacting specifications.
You had to do quality control.
Quality control. So,
but that was a little boom that lasted for a while and then died off.
And I still see it occasionally in previews. They have the adult guide, but Discount Comic Book Service never offers it.
No.
I've never asked.
I imagine they just don't want to play in that field.
Well, considering some of the manga they sell, it's like, yeah, you don't want to do this, but you'll sell the Japanese stuff.
But if you notice, they don't sell the Japanese adult manga.
No, not the hardcore, just the innuendo. Yes, he's blacked out with several large-breasted succumb by, ready to have sex with him. How will our virgin friend get out of this next? See us next issue. I would love to read some of that stuff, but I just don't know. I don't want to part one of 357 volumes. Dude, I don't even read Spider-Man that regularly.
How many issues of this do I have to read to get the whole story?
Yeah.
I know where we are, I think.
Yep.
We're at St. John's Hospital.
Yep, that's where Dana was born. Or was it Holly? I think it was Dana. Chris,
somebody was born there.
There was a flashing sign from the gas station across from Chris, and she hated that thing because that's all she could watch all fucking night. Flash, flash, flash. Gas is cheap. Here. Chris, you want to go in? No. Why? I'm going to drive over the sign. Another place we could peek at if you want. I don't know if you ever want to check out FTY in the mall itself.
Nah.
It's pretty much like all newer stuff.
I went to them a few times when they were in the Mall of America.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And they have a food court.
Food court.
I can pick up some Cinnabon for tomorrow.
Food court. Cinnabon. How many days do you have to stretch out a Cinnabon with your diabetes? Like about a week?
Nah, I just tend to go hyperactive.
I'm going to have it now. So when they cut off my foot in a week...
I forget the name of the store that Christy used to work at that was here where it says TV Appliances. It was one of those knick-knack stores.
She's dropped off the face of the earth again.
I found her on Facebook. She's not on Facebook.
Yeah. We're still friends on Facebook, and I send her a message every so often. No reply, so...
Yeah. I think what's happened is a lot of people have abandoned Facebook.
Well, and she leads... Here's a nice way to see it. She leads a complicated life.
Yes. I mean, we were lucky to see her that one time. So my deal is, if you're communicating with anybody exclusively on eBay, or Facebook, you probably want to ask for an alternative way if that's that type of relation. Because my kids, they're not Facebook. My wife barely has Facebook. Everybody's like, oh, Facebook is losing money. Well, yeah. People are fed up with being censored. I say that in air quotes because no matter if you're left or right, you have a reason to beef.
I think it's more the ads, and people are, Facebook is evil.
I don't get my feed the way I want it. All of a sudden I'm getting feeds that are 5-6 days old. I'm like, why are you dumping this on me now? Why didn't you dump it on me 5-6 days ago when it was fresh? They nailed me on, we're going to have to remove this thing from 5-6 years ago. Really? And I didn't even know what the hell it was. I went to look at it, and they're like, oh, we can't show you. Well, what is so egregious that after 5 years you have to get rid of it? So, anyways, they're just, their algorithm is just out of control. There's people that are like, I've been censored again for something that I posted from somebody else that's 5 years old. And Zuck doesn't give a fuck. All right, we're just leaving Half Price Books in Maplewood. Had to hit at least one, even though I hit this one regularly.
See, this is one, normally when we hit a Half Price, we go to the one near the source.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try a different one because
I've actually been by both of them. And had our trails taken us different directions, I might have hit one of the few we don't normally go to. If we go to Issues Needed, there's one down in Apple Valley.
Yep, we've hit that with Butch before.
Yeah. And then, of course, if we go to the other Blu-ray shop, there's one up north there, near Northtown.
But our geeking is nearly over.
Now, the question I have is, do you want pancakes or do you want to call it a night?
Up to you. You decide. And you should probably turn on your
Yeah,
headlights.
this time I will. I could probably do either.
I'll eat when I get home.
Okay, we could save us some bucks there. So, at half price, I got a copy, a DVD of The Music Man, because I don't recall. It's one of those that's always nagging in the back of my head. Yeah, this is the Robert Preston and Shirley Jones one. Did you know she was pregnant in it?
No.
As you look in the later parts of the show, you can see she's getting slightly bigger.
No.
But it was done so well that
they had to really hurry to get it done then.
I didn't notice until they pointed out. Like, there's a scene where she's talking to the Anvil guy who's trying to, she's trying to slow him down. And you can kind of see she's there. And there was a couple scenes where they were doing the kiss on the bridge, and all of a sudden Robert Preston was like, what was that? He said, oh, that was the baby kicking. So I may wanted the Blu-ray, but for $5, I'm like, whatever.
The Halloween shop is open year-round.
Yeah, they staked a claim on that area.
We should tell Evelyn about that.
Oh, yeah. Let's see, what else did I get? I got a reprint of a graphic novel of The Eclipse, The Hobbit. If you remember that book when they published it.
Fully painted, I believe.
It was, it's really good. And I know I don't have a copy of it anymore. So I figured that was good. I picked up a biography of Robin Williams. What got me to buy it, it was one of those, well, this guy's going around and interviewed people that knew him and loved him. But he talked to Christopher Reeve before he passed away, and he said, well, Christopher Reeve, after his horsing accident, was laying in the hospital paralyzed. All of a sudden, in his words, Robin come bursting in a Russian accent and a purple hat, and he didn't know what the hell was going on. His wife followed him, and he was saying, okay, this is very good. I'm going to have to give you a proctology exam. And then when he realized it was Robin, it was the first laugh he had gotten since the accident. And he kind of realized, I'm going to be okay if I've got friends like this. So Robin remembers it differently. Robin remembers him telling him he just gave birth. But so, for $10, that's the type of biography stuff I love. And the last thing I got was one of those, A Guide to the Picard Years, which obviously was a tie-in to Star Trek Picard, and it just overgoes all the Star Trek Next Generation. Not quite a nitpicker's guide, but enough detail in there where like, I'll do it. So that was fun. What'd you get?
In their DVDs, they actually had the Godfather trilogy, the new version that Francis Ford Coppola restored. Now, I have Godfather 1 and 2 on DVD. This is Blu-ray, and I don't acknowledge Godfather 3.
Is Blu-ray dead?
I don't know. A lot of people say that nobody's buying physical media anymore.
Yeah, that could be just...
But I'm able to find them if you look.
Cool.
And I still like them. I'm sorry.
I like them because eventually streaming will do something stupid, like all of a sudden Harry Potter's been taken off HBO Max and thrown on to Peacock for a while, which, makes sense for Peacock, and that's another way to get licensing money in on a property. But now I can't watch it because I don't have Peacock.
Yeah, and there's all these different streaming services, and eventually every studio will have their own.
Yeah.
So,
it's like...
The Godfather's not available on blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but it's on my shelf, so I can watch it whenever I want. And the rest were just some mystery novels that'll be nice reads, including there have been a number of writers on James Bond. Ian Fleming wrote the original novels. Then there was one by someone else called Colonel Sun, which I've never read, and from what I hear, it's really bad. And then there weren't any for a long time. Then John Gardner started up in, I think, 79 or 80 with License Renewed. And he wrote them until his health started to fail. And then Richard Benson wrote a bunch. And then he retired because they weren't paying him enough. Because it wasn't you get royalties. When you work on a property like that, you get a flat fee. And since he left, there have been onesie-twosie novels here and there that try to reignite the Bond literary franchise, but none of them really take off. I have never read any of the Benson novels. So if I see them, I pick them up. They're not bad. You can tell that Benson is a huge fan. And he also doesn't like that John Gardner updated all the stuff to the 80s. So he kind of puts it in kind of a twilighty late 60s time without ever saying what the year is. So rather than Bond going after drug dealers, he's still going after commies.
Well, the commies, can't trust any of them.
And of course, SMERSH, which is, just, they're an evil organization. They're just evil.
Yeah, they obviously have something to do with Smurfs. So.
Yeah. So those are just nice, fun mystery reads, which is what I like to read. I have a whole bunch of them on my Kindle right now because I get that BookBub, BOOKBUB email every day, which has 1 or 2 free novels. I always grab them because, hey, it's free on my Kindle. I read 2 last week that were okay. I wouldn't have spent money on them, but I would have borrowed them from the library and thought, no, this is, entertaining little read. A lot of what they do on that is they'll give you like book 5 in a series or book 2 in a series, stuff like that, to try and get you hooked on the series. But they also, this is a self-published author who really just wants reviews.
Sure. Because
on Amazon, you have to get a certain number of reviews before they start kicking you into the recommendations. So, if there's a comic, graphic novel that you bought off Amazon or a book you bought off Amazon, go ahead, give it a review, even if it's just really short, because that does help the algorithm. And there are a lot of books now that are, when you look online, you'll see, over 200 5-star ratings on Goodreads or over 200 5-star ratings on Amazon. And that's kind of that's what drives that. Especially now that more and more what they call midline novels, you're just your average mystery, your average science fiction fantasy. Publishers aren't publishing them, so people are having to self-publish. And that's my reading for... I think tomorrow I have that Rick Remender Captain America omnibus that I've seen like 5 in, like every store has one, and it's like, I ought to crack that open.
Crack that baby.
Because I read the first first story arc, which was Captain America in Dimension Z, where he goes back to the Kirby story of an alternate dimension. And he goes there and time flows differently. And then Sharon goes there after he does, and when she comes back, she's much older. That's where you got the old Captain America, because he had been there for a long, long time, and he came back and he's old.
Yeah, I wasn't reading it then. All I remember is he just showed up old in Avengers, and I'm like, okay, I'll accept it.
Yeah.
He got better. He never did jump into that 5-year period, supposedly, after Secret Wars and when everything started up again.
I thought it was 1 year.
I don't remember.
I think it was just 1 year.
Could be.
It was the Legion of Superheroes that was 5 years later.
Ah.
And the thing was, I was a huge Legion fan until that story. Then it's like, this isn't fun anymore, and everything's dark and depressing, and...
I think I stuck with it until the Earth blew up, and then I was like...
Yeah.
And that was just because, Death appeared in it. But then after that, he certainly liked Death. He had Death appear in Lobo. Left out back outside.
But I did like when the Legionnaires showed up, and then they
Legionnaires was fun.
And then they sort of rebooted the series to where it was, going back and forth between Legion and Legionnaires. And it was once again, this bright, happy future, which I get why writers like a dark dystopian future. But as a reader, I like every so often for a bright, happy future. That's why I like Star Trek Next Generation. It's good to have Deep Space Nine, which is a little more grungy, a little more grimy. But then you also have Next Generation, which was, hey, things are pretty cool. Yeah, there's some bad stuff, but things are pretty cool.
Whee!
I think that's the problem a lot of Star Wars fans have now. Because they don't want these characters to have inner conflict. They want everything to be like it was when they were a kid.
And I always laugh because what's the running time of Boba Fett? Like 18 minutes, 6 lines?
Yeah.
We don't know much about him, and I don't recall anywhere in canon movies where they said Boba Fett was the baddest ass bounty hunter around. That just kind of came with the expanded universe and just kind of kept with it.
I think that's the other thing. Most of the angry Star Wars fans, they want that expanded universe. And it's, well, you can't. Because you can't expect a filmmaker to go, okay, I'm going to read this 220-some novels and then try and fit a movie in between all this crap.
Although I do find it interesting that they're not doing any Star Wars beyond the final 3.
Yet.
Yeah. There's still a lot of hate for those movies. I wasn't keen on the second one, but I enjoyed the last one.
I loved the second one because it was so much like Empire Strikes Back, where everything falls apart. And I also like Benicio del Toro because everybody said, oh, he's going to be the Lando Calrissian. And no, he wasn't. He was what we thought Lando was. Selfish jerk.
Yeah. And to me, that's when they should have brought Lando in. So for me, there's the what I call the Peter David principle, where really, in a planet full of gamblers, you're going to find one person holding a pin-sized thing. I'm like, to me, the perfect time, that when you bring in Lando. Hey, we're looking for this. Well, I don't really do that. But he does anyways, because he's the scoundrel with the heart of gold.
Yes. Whereas Benicio del Toro was just a scoundrel.
Yeah. And we never see him again.
Which was perfect. He ripped him off, and he left.
Yeah.
I also liked how they sort of democratized the Jedi. Because remember, at the end of it, you showed kids starting to have Jedi power. And then in the third one, it's, oh, no. Ignore that.
Yeah.
It's only these two families. Ugh.
And with that, we're back at my place. Yay!
Well, there's barely any snow on my car.
All right. Well, I will stop here so you may load your car. And
Gather.
that's all, folks.